We have Darlene here with us today, and she will give us, her take on how we can still work in this pandemic, how we can combine all our works and all our family members and, everything going on. And we have we have the Q&A session or the Q&A button. You can use that for questions. So when Darlene is speaking and you have any question, you just go there and write it down. And when she's done with her presentations, we will deal with your questions. So she will answer every question as we have time. And if you would like to ask your question verbally as well, you just use the button raise hand, and I will unmute your microphone so that you could ask your question verbally. So right now, Darlene, over to you.
Thank you, Joyce. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. I'm looking forward to having a informative discussion. So why don't we just hop right in, and I will share my screen. And let's get started. Okay. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us for the presentation on the executive assistant's role in the pandemic. I think today we find ourselves with a great opportunity to come together for this presentation without boundaries of location. Prior to the pandemic, we likely would have all traveled to the same destination so that we can come together in the same room and have these conversations as we have before. As much as there's a benefit to meeting face-to-face, as an executive assistant, we may not have the luxury of that amount of time away from our jobs or the financial assistance in order to benefit from attending in person. So welcome and thank you in advance for your participation. Let me start by saying hello to all you beautiful people. I know being stuck at home, we don't get to see our friends that lift us up and make us feel better. So hello, gorgeous. You look great today. Thanks for being here. Start your day or middle of your day with a smile. Because sometimes all it takes is a smile to make yourself feel beautiful. And we do want to feel beautiful while we're doing our jobs and just in any part of our life. My name is Darlene Seamus, and I am the Executive Assistant to the Senior Vice President and Global Controller at Merck in Kenilworth, New Jersey. I started my career at Merck Research Labs in 2004, supporting a team in the molecular endocrinology area. And then I moved into the cardiovascular diseases organization. In 2012, I moved into the finance division of Merck, supporting the MRL Finance Senior Vice President role. In 2019, I moved to the role I'm currently in at the corporate headquarters. Prior to Merck, I was a paralegal for a sole practitioner in a fast-paced real estate law office. None of these roles, or perhaps each of these roles, was preparation for the situation we suddenly found ourselves in when the pandemic came to our part of the world. As no part of the world has been spared by the pandemic, I'd like to jump right into the impacts, changes, and benefits the executive assistant role has played. Just for a bit of context, I understand most of those participating today are from Canada and the US. I hope you find a few new tips or insights during my presentation, but most of all, I hope you realize that you're not alone in this situation and that what I'm about to share can be a springboard for some good conversation and questions at the end. So, as I prepared my presentation on this topic, I started to make a list under each of these categories: change, impact, and benefit. And the more I thought about each of them, I realized that many of the changes, of course, have an impact, but what may be a benefit to some may not be to another. The biggest change would be working from home, which is a nice treat when everybody else went to work, went to school, or at daycare. But now that we're home trying to work, while the spouse is also working from home, and the 3 kids, different ages, are being homeschooled or need daycare, or if you're a caregiver to another person and that additional support that you used to have is no longer able to help you due to the quarantine, it's a different situation. It's not the same work at home that we're used to. So I know some of this, if not all of this, has got to resonate with you. So For those of us that are fortunate to work for companies that allow flexibility in order to accommodate for these situations, and myself included, um, we're also impacted by the blurred start and end time to our day, whether we're managing one of these situations at home or if we're supporting staff that needs to take advantage of some of these situations and their days and shifts are slightly different. So when does our day really start and when does it end? This certainly is a new challenge. So we need the self-discipline to make sure that we can somehow separate the workday from our home life. And I know it's not easy these days. Not to mention the steep learning curve as we scramble to keep our teams connected and the increased usage of video conferencing, the virtual social events, and having to do this in a space that's not set up for this type of work. We're home, right? So you can see the list just goes on and on. I've been working from home since March 9th of last year, and I've never stepped foot back onto my company property. At that time, my manager told me to pack for about 2 weeks of work. Luckily, I took just a bit more of my must-have files with me. And since then, I've had to learn with much less paper and keep better electronic files. One of the biggest challenges early on was that no one really knew this was going to last this long. We thought 2 weeks, right? The kitchen table was no longer the ideal space to work and stay organized. For me, in a household of 4, and quite often the additional fiance makes 5, the fight for dedicated space was a challenge. And as the spare room had been used by everyone for one purpose or another, it now had to become my home office. Not to mention the need for the Wi-Fi providers to change as we started the pandemic with 3 of us working or finishing college classes, and the pull on the Wi-Fi needs at the same time often led to the internet crashing and coordinating who would be online and when. But we were all able to manage, and this all got sorted out little by little. So we've also become a more virtual shoulder to lean on for our colleagues. Do you find that? So when we're on the phones, I often ask, so how are you doing? Or how are you holding up? Or how are the kids treating you? And through it all, I've gotten to know many of my colleagues even better. I've met their kids on Webex videos, and we've even shared our pets in our homes, which we often refer to as our new office mates. I know we've all lived this, and it sounds very familiar. So let's talk about how the executive assistant can make an impact in this situation and how we can turn this into a benefit as well. We need to learn the new tools to gain the skills that'll help make our life easier and make our companies more connected. The electronic communications such as video conferencing and Zoom have increased in usage. Just make sure you're comfortable using these forms of communication. I spent plenty of time at the beginning of the pandemic and even now rehearsing with others to make sure our meetings would run smoothly. We began using Microsoft Teams to get the group chats going. Also, other sites as Yammer for a broader platform of trying to stay connected. Your organizations may have similar tools available. As an executive assistant, I'm sure you're all tasked the request of finding a fun way to get the team to connect virtually. The virtual social hour or group celebration with a fun, quick game that hadn't been played before became the popular request on our plate now. Trying to find the interesting challenges to get our teams to participate in virtually was now on our to-do list. My group, we do a weekly step challenge. It's great. You can do it from anywhere, and there seems to be pretty good participation in it. But I would reach out to the other admins in my company as well as outside my company that I know to share ideas. I also go to Google for ideas, and believe it or not, I found on Pinterest, Etsy, and YouTube to be helpful with these sorts of games. So just remember, we're all in this situation together, and we can help each other out. All we have to do is ask. An important part of my job is to make sure my manager signs the documents that are required. We had to make sure the recipients of these documents were now willing to accept an electronic signature. We quickly had to get comfortable with the different forms of electronic signatures that were coming our way. The rate at which we had to learn the new electronic tools was at warp speed. And it still is, if you ask me. It's like, welcome to Blur's Day, the 59th of December. That's what today is. I quickly learned the new features on my iPhone that I didn't know were there, such as the ability to scan a document. I mean, just Google how that's done if you're unfamiliar with that cool feature. It's been really helpful to me. UPS shipping accounts were created, and a personal supply of mailing envelopes quickly found its way into my manager's home and mine as well. So we're going to take a poll here right now. I know none of us has the crystal ball to look into the future, but there's a lot of buzz around in the organizations right now about possibly moving towards a more work from home environment or a hybrid of sorts. So we'd like to hear from you with the polling on your screen, what you think might be the situation post-COVID. Do you think there's going to be a return to the office full time? Do you think there might be some remote opportunities more so than before? Do you think it'll be a hybrid approach? Or maybe some of you have already been working from home remotely all along, so it's not going to be a change for you. We have Joyce taking a look at the poll, so I think she's probably going to launch the poll now, and we'll just pause to give you all the opportunity to respond, just what your best guess is. And if you guess, if you want to choose more than one, you're welcome to do that. So Joyce, are we getting any responses in on the poll?
Yeah, we have a lot of response right now. So we'll just give you some few more seconds for those who haven't replied yet.
Okay, and if anybody needs assistance, I think, right, it's at the bottom of the screen. They can just click on the poll.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It appears right in front of the screen. So we have, we have all the answers. So 82% of the participants actually says they would have maybe a hybrid approach. So that is the highest, 82%.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
that's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's true. And then we have 11% saying they will return full time to the office.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, go ahead.
And 6% will remain remote full time.
Okay. All right. Well, it's interesting. Yeah. So I think this topic's been given some very serious consideration in the organizations. So the role of the executive assistant is playing a role in the pandemic that can and will impact the decision on our roles. We've been referred to as the glue of the organization, being the travel planner, social events coordinator, the document facilitator, the calendar scheduler. We assist in keeping the business moving, keeping people together, connected emotionally as well as electronically. And we've been doing this all through the pandemic. So by doing this, we're proving that we can manage our jobs, our managers, and our teams effectively, regardless of where we're working and what our situation may be. So if remote work is something you think you've wanted, then there's no better time than now to prove that you're effective in this environment. So recently I wondered if the jobs being posted now for the executive assistant role had anything pertaining to a pandemic style work environment included in the job description. From the few I looked at, the short answer was no. Even though there's plenty of jobs out there for other kind of remote work, which seems to be gaining popularity, but I was looking particularly for the executive assistant role. But as I was looking at these job descriptions, there was a qualification that resonated with me. It was must have an executive presence. So in a pandemic environment, if we're working remote, how has this changed or redefined our executive presence? Or how do we establish an executive presence if we're new to the role during the pandemic? So according to the Business Insider, there are 7 traits of executive presence, and those are composure, connection, charisma, confidence, clarity, credibility, and conciseness. So Stanford Business also defined it as the way people carry themselves, present themselves, communicate with others, and project confidence and calm. So how do we project that today? For me, I need my routine, a routine similar to what I had pre-pandemic. I need to feel like I did when I was in the office. I was one that liked to look professional every day, style my hair, put on my makeup, and I even like my blingy jewelry a bit more than most people. But I really didn't have that added polish while I was working from home. Let me share a quick story. It happened before COVID. I had a day I needed to work from home since my central air broke and the repair was being made. That day I threw my hair up in a ponytail to stay cool, put on some workout clothes, and was working from the kitchen table. I had no plans for any video meetings that day. I mean, let's face it, back then, we didn't really do video conferencing that often. I was emailing another executive assistant who worked for the president of another company, and he suddenly decided to send a video chat since it would be easier than emailing back and forth. I had no time to change my plans. I had no time to fix my hair. I had no time to put my makeup on. I was just totally panicking. I was sweaty from the heat. I was a mess. So what did I do? I just pretended my camera was broken and I begged forgiveness. And I never forgot that experience. But I think about it more and more the longer we're working from home. At the beginning of the pandemic, it seemed as though everyone was participating in their video chats in a very relaxed outfit. My hoodie and yoga pants are not used to getting the attention they've gotten during the pandemic. But the longer we stayed home, the more I noticed that more of the leadership team I work with were looking a bit more polished. And I decided I needed to get back into a better routine with getting ready for work. I now make sure I always have on a collared shirt and I always have a nice sweater hanging on the back of my chair in case there are any impromptu video chats that are going to happen that day. I've also been doing my makeup, and honestly, I feel better about myself when I do get myself ready that way. Besides, although I may not have ever gone back into the office, some of the assistants I work with in the same company do go in a few times a week or sometimes on an as-needed basis. And when they're on video chat, they've been dressed professionally. So also in the pre-pandemic environment, I likely wouldn't have had to put the video chat on, but I do enjoy using the video chat feature now because I can see the faces of my colleagues and I miss them. I really do. I keep saying I feel we need a group hug right now. The pandemic fatigue is a real thing. Sticking to a routine, getting myself prepared for my day has helped me feel better. And when I feel better about myself, I'm sure my confidence shows through, even if it's just via the phone or maybe in the emails I write, as well as the appearance on the video chats. Grace under pressure is a requirement in our role, and there certainly are pressures at home now too. And now the pressure may even be from the new routine or the lack of the routine that we've been forced into by the pandemic. Getting back into the old normal in any way I can has been helpful for me. Even if your role doesn't require you to ever be on video, your family will see how you're dressed for your day and hopefully respect that time a little bit more. And you may feel better too. Although that's never stopped my new dog from wanting my attention any time of the day, but she's always a welcome joy. Do what works best for you. Whether that works for you or not, it's important to respect what others may choose to do. We don't know what everyone else has on their plate, professionally or personally. So we must show kindness, even more so now, and be respectful of other people's opinions, even if they are different from our own. Always be kind. And I hope you found this presentation to be meaningful. And I thank you for your time and attention. And I hope you stay well. And I'm going to turn this back to Joyce. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Darlene. That was great. At this time, we really need to hear that. And it's beautiful how you ended with us telling us that it's very important for us to be kind to one another this time. So it's time for our Q&A session. So if you have any questions, you will see the Q&A box down below your Zoom, and you can just type in your questions and we will deal with it. So let us know what questions you have. And if you would like to ask your question verbally, you can just let us know by using the tool raise hand. So you raise your hand and then I will unmute you and then you can go ahead and ask your question. So we will give you a few seconds just to write your questions. Let the questions come in, and we will deal with the questions. So we already have one question here, Darlene. So I will just read it out to you. So, and you can open your Q&A box as well in case you want to see the questions yourself. So the first question is, can you share some online games that promote social interactions?
Yeah, I got to tell you, it's really a challenge when we're constantly being asked this question, and it's been a long time that we've been home, so it's getting harder and harder to come up with something new. I've gotten presentations passed to me from other admins that have been created by them. Where they actually got that from, I don't know. So that's why I started to look for them myself. And I did find, like, especially around the holidays, everybody wanted to, go on the holiday break on an upbeat note. So believe it or not, there are on Pinterest and Etsy, they're selling, the games on Etsy, but if you look at Pinterest, you can kind of get the ideas to springboard from there. There have been some Family Feud type of games. Bingo was a popular one. I've even seen some ideas where, even if you're in a meeting, anytime the manager picks up their water bottle to drink, everybody else is supposed to do it and see when she catches on, So it's just to try and make light of the situation. Certainly you don't want to do that in a very formal environment, but, it is tough because that's something we've never really had to deal with. One of the things that I did come across was there are some vendors out there that event planners who didn't know what to do now that they're in the pandemic environment, and they're trying to cross over and make business for themselves in the pandemic environment. And I did reach out to some of them, and they didn't have a plan, but they certainly were willing to talk to us about what we needed and to exchange thoughts and ideas, And this one vendor that I was talking to, we were trying to come up with like a Jeopardy style game where you could have your leadership team, or even just, a panel of a few of your staff being asked questions where, the rest of the team could chime in with answers or phone a friend or, survey the audience, and the survey tools have been helpful too. So there's a lot out there if you look for it. I just think we've never needed to look that deep for it, but it's there. It's there, So I hope you found that one helpful.
Thank you, Darlene. That's awesome. As you said, we have a lot of games online now. So we will move quickly to the next question. Nicole would like to know how you maintain a schedule while working from home, because sometimes, you get an email in the evening and you feel obligated to respond. So how do you handle this as an executive assistant?
Yeah. So even pre-pandemic, it's a challenge that the executive assistant has had to have. I mean, we all have the cell phones that we're hooked up to, the iPad, not only just the laptop during the day. So one of the cool features that I do have on my iPhone is a VIP setting. So even though, anytime I might be sitting down and relaxing, I scroll through my email, look to see if there's anything important. But with the VIP setting, my manager or certain people that I want to definitely see that they're emailing me after hours, it pops up on my screen. I'm very fortunate that my manager is respectful for the off hours, but it doesn't mean she's not going to ask me for something at that time. So I read, what it is, and I judge. Is this person struggling? Do they need my answer tonight? Or is it just because they had to work with the kids during the day and now they're finally getting to their work and they just answered it and it can wait till morning? So even though I'm monitoring it, I do judge, and I find you can easily fall into the trap that if you do respond at night, they might begin to expect more responses at night. So you just have to know who it is that you're going to be willing to respond to at that hour, and the urgency, triage it. You know, if it's something that certainly can wait till morning, let it wait till morning, because you don't get your time back from your family either. You know, so try and set some boundaries. And when you do, people will be respectful. And I'm fortunate my company is respectful for off hours, but it does come through and you do have to answer. So just triage it. You really do have to triage it.
Great. Thank you so much. The next question says, what do you do when you find yourself getting distracted at home?
Yeah, focus. Shut the door. A lot of times I find I need to clean my desk. If it gets cluttered, too many post-it notes, you know, I can be a queen of post-it notes. I need to get that organized. I might take a break. You know, I think I find that working from home, I'm taking less breaks. You know, where in the office, you might have somebody come by and say, hey, you want to go for a cup of coffee? And you do. At home, maybe not so much, you know. I don't have little ones in the house anymore. And I'm down to just having an older son who's home during the day. So I call him my water cooler buddy. So when he does come upstairs, you know, we might have a quick chat, but I am able to refocus right away. But for those of you that are distracted at home, I think, you know, you got to find the trigger and find a reset, you know, whether it's cleaning your desk, okay, get a cup of water and get back to it. Acknowledge there's a trigger and find a response to get back on track.
Right. Great. Thank you. Karen would like to know, she said, I keep a tight communication ship with my team, and they seem to be really feeling the lack of contact. So do you have any suggestions as to bring them back together in a more definitive way?
Yeah, I like video chats, Karen. I don't know if your group does the video chats. I feel so much more connected to my team. My manager even would have team meetings that normally I didn't have to sit in on. But I've asked her now, can I? You know, because I miss the team. I miss the interaction. And I know a lot of, you know, this role is a behind the curtain type of situation. So getting them together, getting them to see the faces, even we would have virtual social hour, cocktail hour, virtual lunches. You might not have to be working. You can just have time to connect, you know. One of the things that our team of admins does, which we've really gotten to know each other so much better through the pandemic, is every week an email would come out saying, this is what I did over the weekend. What did you do? And we all share what we did. And I have to tell you, it's increased, I believe, our team. You know, we're a stronger team because we know each other more. And I think it probably helps because if you are sharing a struggle or sharing a victory, you know, or just sharing an event, one, we get other ideas, two, we get support, you know, and we stay connected. So communication is key right now, with not being in the office, whether it's video, written, or even just sending, you know, I love my little sayings, you know, be kind, you know, send that every day, or the platforms such as Yammer, you know, it's like Facebook for the office. Keep it professional, but it's ways to stay together. And like I said, my group also does a weekly step challenge. So they're all competing amongst each other from wherever they are.
Okay, great, thank you. I think I just lost one question. 1 second. So Rena would like to know what kind of, you know, team build activities she can offer to her team, as she has a bigger team, actually 160 persons in the team. So she was wondering if you have any virtual events that can be fun, you know, and keep everyone engaged in such a large team.
Yeah, wow. I don't have to do that. in my role, although our organization is global based. I suggest looking out online. There are a lot of companies out there that, even if it's not in your budget to hire a company to do it, I think you can see, get the ideas, whether it's a virtual scavenger hunt, or something like that, like another one of the games. But look online. You just put in your Google search, team building activities in a virtual environment, and I'm sure you're going to find that there's a lot of these, event planners too that are trying to come up with something to keep their business going. And you can either, get the idea or hire one of those companies, especially if it is on such a large scale like that. Good luck with that. It is quite a challenge. It is certainly quite a challenge these days.
Right. Thank you, Darlene. Someone said, I really appreciate that you get ready for work every day. I feel in a slump and I'm not motivated to get ready, let alone leave my bed. So how do you stay motivated to get ready daily?
Yeah. I'll admit I was feeling that slump. It was hard, but I just had to think about, as much as I always enjoyed working from home. I thought it was such a treat, but I also enjoyed going into the office. And like I said, I liked to get dressed up. I liked to come home at the end of the day and my hair and my makeup was done. I just felt better about myself. So you really do have to just push yourself to start doing it. The saying, fake it till you make it. That's really what you have to do. Start your day with a smile, whether you feel like smiling or not. And even if you just start with one thing, like I started with just putting on a collared shirt, no more hoodies. Or give myself, that Friday where I am in my hoodie, but you got to start somewhere. You don't have to tackle it all at once because it is hard. And like I said, that pandemic fatigue is real. And some days I don't want to get out of bed. But if you have to set the clock, do it. If it just has to be, you put out the same 5 shirts for Monday through Friday. Remember when we were little kids, it was all marked with the days of the week. That's okay. Just start somewhere, and it can start small, and then you can build on it. You need to start somewhere. So good luck with that. Or maybe find a buddy. Find a buddy to be accountable to. Know that you have to be online in the morning, so get your hair and makeup done, or just a better blouse or something on. Be accountable. But good luck. It is a challenge.
Right, thank you. Vanessa would like to know, any preference to Zoom or Google Meetings?
I don't use either. We have Webex that we use, so I'm very comfortable with the Webex. Zoom has been something new to the pandemic for me. I did attend a Zoom wedding and a Zoom funeral. And this Zoom event. So I'm starting to try and be more acquainted with Zoom. Google Meetings is a new one for me. So I'm going to have to research that, make a note myself. Our company does prefer us to use Webex for their own reasons. So my response would be neither, and it's Webex.
All right. Thank you. Christina says, good morning. Since I've been working from home, my job description has been reduced to just setting up Webex meetings. I want to do more, but don't know where to start. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah. I think that's a legitimate fear, because bosses, sometimes they're just moving the meetings on their own. Sometimes it creates more of a problem for us. Sometimes it doesn't, especially those that might have supported someone that traveled a lot. And now all that's taken off your plate. So look for things. A lot of times you might find that there's a project that your manager has put out there to her team, I've stepped up and I've said, can I join that team? One, it keeps me visible, in front of her or in front of the team. Um, it was our communications team, right? So that's a big topic right now. Everybody wants to try and stay connected. So being in the executive assistant role, it does give you a little bit of advantage when you want to join these teams, because a lot of times your manager is not on there and you're a softer approach for them to get your manager's attention, right? So if they're looking to schedule something, it's so much easier to say, hey, Darlene, what does her schedule look like right now, rather than them having to go to her directly, because sometimes some people might not feel that comfortable doing that. So you would be a welcomed participant in that committee. A lot of times also they might be rolling out a new software and they might be looking for people to champion it or try it out while it's still in the sandbox mode. Jump in, search your company website, see if you have anything like that going on. Ask your boss, can I do this? Do you support me doing this? I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how they will agree to it. Another committee that I was on, and maybe it doesn't even exist in your organization and you could bring it up, but we had a social committee. Our organizations are spread out, they're diverse. I think every manager wants their organization to feel connected and like a team. So if you don't have a social committee, suggest starting one, or if you do have a social platform where your organization likes to communicate, start throwing things out there. Let's have a cooking challenge, or share your favorite recipe while you're home, or share your favorite activity to do with the kids. Put yourself out there, immerse yourself into the business a little bit more, because it is very easy to feel like you're losing control, you're losing part of your job description, and you don't want to disappear, right? Because I know that is a fear. So jump in there, volunteer, and if you can't find the committees, maybe make one up. That would be useful to your group.
Yeah, thank you. We have a question from Deborah. That's just like a follow-up question from the last question you just answered. So she said, we're not doing as much now that we are at home. For example, as you said, less travel, less travel arrangements, and etc. So how do we address our annual review for 2020?
Yeah, it's, as I said, try and find something more. How did the pandemic affect you? Okay, even though the travel was canceled, did you now have to reschedule? Did you have to find workarounds, right? Were you making virtual meetings instead? So I think that's a big portion of what we did. Even though travel was canceled, how did we make up for it? So don't discount the planning that went into that as well. We had to mitigate what happened, right? Keep the team connected. So, like I said, if the tasks aren't the same, you might just need to take a closer look and see that they've changed. So because I didn't travel, how did they get what they needed done? And what was my involvement in doing that? Did they do a broad-based meeting? We do skip a level meetings. Think about it from that perspective. And again, as I said, take additional training. I mean, you're all here today, right? Include that in your job description, that you're actively searching for new things or suggestions to help communications for the team, help improve yourself in your role, or your understanding of certain programs and tools that are available to you.
Great, thank you. We will just take Colleen because she wants to ask a question verbally. So
Okay.
over to you, Colleen. We have unmuted your microphone.
Hi, Colleen.
Okay, she just left the meeting. I think she might be having some internet connection problems. So we will just continue and see if she can join back. Yeah, I think she might be having some connection issues. So we have another question, and she says, my managers seem okay with audio calls, rather than the video calls. But, sometimes it's her call, so she can decide. So she's asking, do you think I should, do a video chat as more professional, personal interaction?
I wouldn't do it without her knowing. That's for sure. What we've been doing, like, even if we've had to do interviews for roles, we always give the option, or we say the video will be on, and if you're comfortable and would like to turn your camera on, please feel it's okay to do so. Some people are just completely uncomfortable in front of the camera. And I think if you make them feel uncomfortable by insisting on it, the interaction may go down significantly. And you don't want that to happen either. So it doesn't hurt to talk to her about it either. But if it's something that she's just completely not comfortable with, I wouldn't force it. Ask once, and I wouldn't push the issue with her. Hopefully you have other people you can chat with and see.
Great, thank you. Mary would like to know how you manage, vacation time during working from home. So she realizes that most people have not been able to travel, but describe your vacation time or your time.
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough where my vacation was, they call it Puerto Backyarda, in the swimming pool with the kids. My husband made our own version of a swim up bar at the edge of the pool. And believe it or not, it probably was maybe only the second or third time we actually had the time to enjoy our pool. As our kids, my kids are older. So we were always running, when they were in travel sports. So we were never home. And this summer we sat in the pool on our floaties and, swimming up to the poolside bar and saying, this is actually kind of nice. We haven't done this. And I think we counted 3 times, So we did find things to do at home on vacation. Now, I get more vacation than my husband does. So I did roll over some because my schedule was very busy and I really couldn't find the time to tear myself away. But I did stock up on projects. I'm a crafty person. I love my little projects. And I bought a sewing machine. So we did a homemade Christmas with my daughter. And I made dedicated time to learn to sew. I did not, I knew how to sew, but I took a webinar with a woman that would make gemstones out of fabric. So I thought that was really cool. I said, count me in. And, I'm taking webinars on, I have a scan and cut or, a Cricut. So I'm trying to find other ways to do things that before the pandemic, I always wish I had the time to do it. Now that I have the time to do it, you're at first like, well, what do I do? So, but we've even done the home renovations. I don't mind painting. I never thought I'd paint my garage and my basement, but I have. So I do try to keep busy. And I think it is important to make sure you take your vacation and your time away because we do get burnt out. We do get depressed. It leads to not wanting to get up and get dressed in the morning. So put it on your calendar. That's the one thing that I say. Put it on your calendar. Schedule your time off. Because if you don't, someone else will schedule that time for you. And it's not going to be spent the way you want it to. So put it down, whether you're just going to walk on the beach. My husband and I now started he takes me out on a date night, which I don't like to leave the house, but he said, don't worry, we'll pick up curbside dinner and we'll go sit somewhere in his truck and we'll have dinner in the truck because it's cold where I'm at. So we picked up dinner. We went Riverside one day. We were sat by the bay last weekend and it was nice. And I'll tell you, it felt good to get out of the house for anybody who does feel, stuck in the house. There are ways that you can get outside your property, and we're fortunate to have property that we can, run around in, but beyond seeing my neighborhood, get in that fresh place because it really does refresh your soul. I didn't think it would make much of a difference, but these past few times that he's drugged me out, I did enjoy it. So schedule it and go someplace that you haven't been before. You don't have to be in public. I don't like wearing a mask, so you can stay in your car or just walk on the beach or walk through a hiking trail. Schedule it, make time to do it, take it and go. You have to. You owe it to yourself. Put yourself first. I think that's one thing that we've forgotten. We do need to make time for ourselves. So keep yourself first and take that vacation.
Awesome. The next question says, I'm relatively new to a company and I'm finding it very hard to connect with my boss and colleagues. I have only met a few people in person and find it hard to feel part of the team. Any tips?
Yeah. It's a challenge. One that I don't have to face, but I do see people in my group that are coming new to the company or new to the role. So, send them an invite for a coffee chat, right? Or just a lunch break, just to get to know them. I know it can be intimidating, but guess what? They're probably equally as nervous and equally as happy to receive that invitation to get to know you better. If you're not comfortable on video chat, that's fine. Just make it a quick 10-minute phone call. Just say, I'm new, would love to get a couple of minutes to just introduce myself. Let me know what what your needs are from me, if it's somebody that you need to assist with, or if it's someone similar to your role that you interact with often. So I send that invite out. I said, hey, welcome to the company. Let's just meet, let's chat, and I found it to be helpful. And I think the person on the other end appreciated it. So whether you're the new one, sometimes it's harder to initiate it if you're the new one, but I think it would be totally understandable and totally acceptable if you did it. So just quick coffee chat, 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. And then after that 5 minutes, if you guys choose to maybe, do 20 minutes or a half hour next time, do it. It's really important because it is a challenge, I think, trying to get immersed, especially in this role. Because a lot of times, like I said, we're kind of the behind the curtains type of people. But I don't think any manager would turn you down if you ask for 5 minutes for introductions or just to get a pulse on what their expectations are, or tell me how you handled it when you were in this role or, working for your boss. I think totally acceptable. So go ahead, put 5 minutes, 10 minutes on the calendar and start introducing yourself.
Great. Thank you. We have a lot of questions still pending. This one is from Esther, and she says, how do you keep up to date at an expert level with the various new tools available?
You don't know what you don't know. As my company will circulate a new tool, I jump in there. I used to consider myself a techie person until my kids told me I'm not. But, just stay on top. I don't know if there's any magical place to look at that'll tell you all the new tools, but I do subscribe to different executive assistant associations. And a lot of times you can just scan the headings to see what might be out there, and then decide if it's something you might want to look into. Or like I said, the company newsletter, they might tell you something's changing, this new technology, check it out. So I think it's important to stay on top of it, because your manager is probably going to expect you to know it if it's something that's definitely coming into your company. More times than not, they're like, okay, yeah, you figure it out and tell me what I got to do. So just keep your company news fresh, and subscribe to some of those admin newsletters too, so that you can get a pulse on what might be new coming out there.
Great. Thank you for that. I think Diane raised a hand. She would like to ask a question verbally. Diane, you can go ahead. Let's see.
Looks like Diane's still on mute.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. So while we let IT get that ready, we'll just quickly move to the next question, because we have quite a lot of questions here. Anna would like to know, she says, the executive assistant group I lead has had to take on a lot of additional work to support our leadership remotely, and much of it will become permanent additions to our responsibilities. Do you have suggestions for how to lead approach the leadership in terms of reflecting the increased responsibility in our titles or compensation?
Good question. I think if it's that much of a load, I've had the conversation with my manager where, I needed them to help me to prioritize. And the possibility exists too, if you have other admins in the group, maybe the workload can be shared. I certainly think that it's an opportunity, like when you do have your review, but you don't wait for your review. Talk to your manager sooner rather than later, because if you do get overwhelmed and that avalanche falls on you, it's harder to dig out, and it's just not a good reflection on you if you've let too many things fall because too many things are being juggled. So have that conversation, ask for priorities, ask for help, because it's possible that there might be some additional admins in the group that would be willing to share. Like I said, speak up, let them. We don't want to say, hey, I got nothing to do. Nobody wants to do that, but just say, hey, I'm willing to help. A lot of us do work together as a team. Let me know how I can help out. So it definitely has to start with that conversation and prioritization.
Okay, great, thank you. Someone wants to know, do you think the role of an executive assistant will change once things get back to normal?
I do. Maybe where we're doing it a little bit more so. I think of it from the perspective that even when we were in the office, how often was our manager not in the same place as us? So I do see probably that flexibility coming. Although there's such high value in face-to-face meetings, especially as you are moving up through the corporate ladder, they do like those face-to-face presentations. So just in that respect, I do see it changing. As far as accepting electronic signatures, I think that might change too. They might be more comfortable with it as, we become familiar with the security that's built around it. I think that's what we've been, many might be apprehensive about. And also that we've proven we can work effectively in alternate environments. So I think there's a great chance that there could be some change there for the role.
Okay, thank you. Lara would like to know, she said, I'm on a social committee and send emails on special occasions. Any tips for best practices on email communications?
I'm often told, Darlene, put your touches on this. I love to use color. I love to add clip art. I love to change the font. I think just looking at, a pretty picture, something that's peaceful, it helps. It's not just another email in your inbox, and it might get a little more attention. It might get read a little bit sooner. So take a little time just to add a little dab of pizzazz, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised how happy people are to see that little extra clip art or change of color come across their desk.
Perfect, thank you. The next question says, how do you handle a manager who is keen on micromanaging you? I assist multiple executives and I enjoy working with everyone else, but this specific individual doesn't trust anyone in our team and is always getting satisfaction from keeping us working during lunch or after hours. Any thoughts?
That's a shame. My heart goes out to you. I've been fortunate enough to have incredible managers, where I haven't found myself in that situation, but I have, heard of people that are. It's difficult. If I think the one thing that you got going there is that there's multiple managers there. So I would reach out to the other managers, make them aware of it, and maybe there is something that can be said to them. But I think a conversation needs to be started somewhere. HR isn't out of the question, but I would first approach them, then approach another manager, see what that guidance is, and if you had to, approach HR, because we all deserve to be treated fairly.
All right. Thank you.
Good luck.
We have 2 more questions, so we can quickly do this before we end. Rena says, can you please share some admins associations that we can be part of to share ideas, common challenges, updates on technology, etc.?
Yeah, ASAP, Admin Association, is one of them, and there's one that's called Executive Association. Probably if you just go into Google and put those in, you'll see them come up. I often get email blasts from them once you sign up, and it's very helpful. So ASAP and Google Executive Assistant Association, and you should be able to find yourself there.
Great. Thank you. And then the last question we'll be treating today says, what's your advice for those executive assistants who study as well as have a full-time job during the pandemic?
That was me. I was a nighttime student until I was 40 years old. And it's routine. You need that routine. Get into a habit, schedule your time. I know that the added pandemic chaos that might be going on in our homes with the kids going stir crazy is a challenge, but man, make that routine. And you'll get there. You will. I did it. I did, get that bachelor's degree finally. Just keep plugging along. You got it. Good for you. Keep going.
Great, thank you. So that was it. We do have one last question here, but because of time, we will have to round up now. So maybe, Darlene, you can help us with that later. It's just about setting goals and objective, for performance review. But we really have to stop now. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and thank you so much, Darlene. It was so awesome, and thank you for all the practical tips that you shared. So we would like to wish everyone good luck, and definitely be kind and stay safe. So,
thank you. Take care. Stay well, everyone.
Yeah.